Hi, Phil.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Welcome back to Lockdown Lessons, part 15. So with me today, I've got Steve Foreman from Advertising Excellence. So I just want to kick off just by saying hello to you, Steve.
Hi, Phil. Hi, everybody else. I hope you're all well in lockdown.
Yeah, me too. So I suppose the best way to kick off really, Steve, is just to, firstly, if you could just explain to the people watching exactly what you do and how you help people.
Okay, thanks, Phil. I suppose the clue's in the name a little bit. Advertising Excellence. We're an advertising agency based in Kent, Surrey, and London. We're one of the top 3 media independents in the UK. But ultimately, we just save our clients time and money. We get the best rates, advertising rates in the market. We save you the faff of having to go to multiple suppliers. We can help you design ads. In fact, for a lot of clients, we do that free of charge if they're spending their media with us. But really, we just want to deliver bang for buck and plan the most cost-effective campaign for clients and deliver them real return on investment. So we've been going 22 years now. Seems a long time, but we're just here to help clients and really deliver value.
Good stuff. So it's online and offline media you specialise in?
Yeah, it's both. I mean, I think we'll probably show more advantage on what you'd call traditional media, national press, radio, TV, poster sites, out of home, etc., etc. That's where we're a late space specialist, Phil, really. We one of the papers will come to us and say, right, we've got 3 pages left for tomorrow because we've got 150 clients. They know pretty much straight away that we'll be able to sell them. And because I used to work on the other side of the fence, I used to work at 3 national newspapers. I used to work at Capital Radio, Sky TV. So I've got the experience on the other side, and the media companies are usually a little bit more comfortable dealing with somebody who's a bit more savvy than some of the young agency professionals straight out of uni, I suppose.
Good stuff. That's very reassuring. So if we could cast our mind back to March, at what point did you see there being a problem commercially, Steve, in the country?
It's so funny looking back, isn't it? Because we knew what was going on in China. We knew it sort of spread to Europe, and then I feel guilty about it really, because I think I was walking around in a daze and oblivious to it really. So we locked down on, I think, the 23rd of March. And I remember being quite bewildered that the staff all wanted to go home and be furloughed. And I was like, what? Well, I've got no problem staying at work. So it was, from a business perspective, we just turned in £1.5 million month in February. March was fairly stable. And then April fell off, the cliffs of Dover, really. It was unbelievable. We were 70% down from our February figure in April. So that's obviously a problem.
It is a problem. So how did you adapt then to that problem then, Steve?
Well, we did furlough. We did furlough the sales staff. I took on more work myself because it's a knowledge-based business, really. And if I can just have a chat with somebody and find out if I think we're able to help, we've already got all the rates and presentations and all that sort of stuff. So it's quite it's not a massively involved job to really give people an indicator of how they can advertise. So for me, to furlough the sales staff and a couple of the account staff wasn't too much of a wrench, really. I think if furlough hadn't been there, I think it would have been much more difficult to get through. We did take a Sybil's loan as well from the government. Not so much because we necessarily thought we were, in a tricky financial position, but ultimately it was free government money, and I think we've all paid enough taxes to get a hand back from the government occasionally. So, so I took that money, but we just adapted. Everybody working from home. I think it's worked for quite a lot of people, to be honest.
I agree. I think a lot of the time it's sort of, someone once said necessity is the mother of invention, isn't it? If you didn't have to operate that way, it might have taken a lot longer to actually set it all up and make it happen. But because it was an immediate need, it's like, right, what do we need to do right now to get this moving? And people seem to have stepped up. Everyone I've spoken to seem to have adapted to the working from home thing really, really well. They're still getting results. A lot of people, a lot of office owners up in central London are really concerned that their tenants are going to stop. They're just going to carry on working from home since it's been working so well. So, in terms of what wins have you actually seen during lockdown, in Steve? Because I like to concentrate on the positive, as you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not like the advertising industry's fallen flat on its face. People still require to sell their product or get their name out there. We've seen certain media channels really perform because people are at home. They've got the radio on in the background, or they're watching more TV. They're certainly online more, aren't they? So whereas the national press or newspapers in general, or magazines, press in general, has suffered somewhat, as has out-of-home media, because people are out a lot less than they were. But we've picked up a couple of massive accounts this year. I mean, some of the brands out there that you'll probably be familiar with are things like My Pillow, which is in every single newspaper every single day, spend 300 million a year in the States. We won their account for the rest of the world. You will have heard Ocean Finance, no doubt. We picked up Halo Hoover, which is like the Vax, the Vax and the Dyson, etc. So we've picked up. I think we've won about £4.5 million worth of new business this year. So it's not bad in a lockdown.
That isn't bad at all, and obviously, coupled with the fact you're probably buying at better rates than you were maybe able to a year ago, right? That's going to be particularly attractive to buyers that are looking to advertise, right?
Well, I'll give you an example. Something like, probably the best example is the Metro, the London Metro. They would typically be trying to charge about £10,000 for a full page pre-COVID. We were buying, because obviously we were buying in bulk already, we were buying at £2,500 a page. And then recently I just did a deal with them and said, look, we've got the clients. I could probably commit to doing 80 pages a month with you, which is pretty much half the advertising in the paper. But I only want to spend £1,000 a page. And that's for, the London Metro, which is, 9 million people living in Greater London. And, typically there'd be 1.5 million people reading it every day. Obviously the figures are down. The figures are probably 40 to 50% of what it would have been. But £1,000 for a full page is comparatively cheap compared to what the circulation was prior. So, and the same would apply with titles like perhaps the Times. The Times full page rate card, £30,000. We would typically be buying at 3,000. We're now buying 2 pages for the price of 1. So we've been getting pages in there for £1,500 in the leading quality national newspapers. So there's, not everybody can advertise during this period. I do understand that. People, ultimately, it's often one of the things that people cut first because they think, I can't really afford that marketing spend. But where we fit into that is really we'll drive the value and make it more affordable so they can be continuous throughout difficult times.
I think that's a really good point you raised there. I think there was some great examples of the Great Depression in the 1930s where Kellogg's had a competitor that was as big as Kellogg's at the time.
Yeah,
the competitor cut their marketing spend down to zero. Kellogg's actually launched Rice Krispies. And where's the competitor now? They died years ago, whereas Kellogg's is still going strong. So it was just a great illustration. And in fact, if anyone wants to Google it, there are numerous examples of businesses that have marketed throughout a recession and really thrived on the back of it. So I think that's a great point. So I just wondered, Steve, what would you say you've learned about yourself over the last sort of few months then?
Look, I think, I'm not young. I'm not a young buck, am I? I'm 53 years old. I was fairly sure I was sure of my core strengths or weaknesses before. I think, I'm quite resilient by nature anyway. I've had struggles in the business in the early stages, like a lot of businessmen or entrepreneurs do. I think it's given me a bit of a sense of more sense of value on friendship and family and downtime. You know, I'm motivated, but I've sort of found myself in a position where obviously you're spending more time at home. You know, the kids are driving you around the twist, etc., etc. But I've just had to fold one of the other businesses that I'm involved with, which was a biomass business in Africa, and I've personally lost about £1 million on that. So that's a kick, all right. But you would imagine that a few years ago that would have really hit me hard. But I think so many people have been ill or died or had their lives turned upside down, that this period has really given me a sense of perspective on everything, really. You know, business is important, you know, as you know, but it's not everything. And
Right.
if you haven't got your compassion, your perspective, you know, I don't think you're a rounded human being. And I think that's probably what I've learned most during this.
I agree, and most people are being judged at the moment, aren't they, by their depth of compassion to other people and how they help people and how they go about, you know, even on the marketing side. Although marketing, I firmly believe you should market through tough times. At the same time, sometimes your message needs to change to reflect the climate you're actually in. So I think we're all going to be judged on the basis of the message we're punting out. So in terms of for anyone that's watching this that's interested in finding out more, who would you say your ideal customer is then, Steve, just to get really clear on that?
Well, you know, I'm happy to speak to anybody initially, Phil. You know, for the sake of a 5 or 10 minute phone call to find out, you know, what the options are, where they're based, whether they want to be national or they're looking at a regional campaign, they want to be, what sort of customer they're trying to attract. And for the sake of a 10-minute call, you know, there's a lot of businesses that we've spoken to who have thought some specific sectors of advertising are outside of their reach. Okay. So, you know, most people think, I can't afford to be on TV. I can't afford to be on national TV. And the one thing that I will typically say to people is, you know, how much do you think a 30-second ad is on Sky News? Sky News is a channel that everybody knows, right?
Sure.
Okay. And the figure normally comes back at 20,000, 30,000, but it's typically around about that figure. The reality is we can buy a 30-second national ad on Sky News for about £200. Okay. There's some channels that we will advertise on that will cost you about £5 or £6 for a national 30-second ad on Sky. So I think our ideal customer is somebody who is ambitious, who wants to push their business. Okay. I don't want to ever feel like I'm pushing water uphill. All right. I want to give people the options. I'm not going to hound them. And if they, typically it'd be B2C. I would say we're stronger in advertising to consumers than we are specialist business press. Okay, just being honest. But if anybody has got any, we'll look at localized, regional campaigns, national campaigns. Where you get the best bang for buck, though, for us, is clients that can advertise nationally, because it's much cheaper on a cost per thousand basis to reach people through a national newspaper than it is to go in a load of regional newspapers like the Kent Messenger or something like that. It's much more expensive pound for pound to do that. Great.
Yeah, no, I've always, you know, when I used to work in marketing myself, we used to outsource to an ad agency to buy in space at the time, and we found that as well. Our clients were more interested in buying national space than they were regional space. Just the way of unless we're talking about the metro, if you can class that as regional, I suppose that's one caveat, I suppose, there. So, okay, Steve, so what's the best way that people can get in contact with you following this interview then?
I'm more than happy for anybody to give me a call. You know, I mean, this sounds, we can't really deal with very, very, very localized businesses like a shop who only wants to advertise in West Kingsdown or something like that.
Sure.
That's not our bag, and I don't want to say that it is. But if somebody wants to give me an initial call or drop me an email, or they want to visit the website and have a little look at some of the things we do, I believe you'll probably share those details with people, will you?
I will, yeah. What I'll do then, rather than ask you to read them out right now and everyone write them down, I'll just post them below in the comments section, so people can actually get in touch with you. I think that's probably the best way to go. So anyway, let's wrap up now. Lovely to speak to you, Steve. I'm sure we'll see each other soon. And thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, and thanks for watching, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.